Welcome to the 8th Sunday after Pentecost, according to Presbyterian liturgical calendar. In today's Gospel reading, the Gospel of Luke, chapter 12, verses 13 to 21, Jesus uses another parable to teach us, the parable of the rich fool. Here in this parable was a man who had all material things, who lived in abundance and rejoiced over the increase of his riches. Yet, despite his material riches, his soul was bankrupt. His soul was suffering from poverty. His heart was distant from God, and his regard for God was very cheap. And while he rejoiced in his riches, making more plans for expansion of his barns, the Lord called him a fool and required his soul of him. Yes, his barns, his storehouse were full, but his heart was empty. Empty of God, empty of God's grace, empty of salvation, and empty of the consciousness for eternity. By no means, this parable is not an attack on wealth. Neither was the man in this parable guilty and called a fool by God because he was successful. No, it wasn't his success. It wasn't even his riches. He was called a fool by God because he paid more attention to the increase of his wealth than his relationship with his maker. This parable is about us believers in Christ. It warns us against idolatry, especially towards material possessions. In a world like ours, where being rich is often measured by the number of cars, the number of houses, and other material things that someone possesses, we must not fall prey to two major dangers we see in this text: the danger of hoarding riches and the danger of not being rich towards God. We must learn to see our riches not just material but intellectual, emotional, and otherwise as God's gifts to us. We are only managers. Paramountly, we must recognize the giver, God Himself, in our lives above everything. It is possible for us to have all that life can give, yet not have the giver of all things in our life, who is God. It is possible that we will be rich in material possessions, but we will be poor towards God. The poverty here is not of physical possessions, but spiritual. The poverty of the saving grace of God. The eternal security of our souls should be our primary concern and not earthly riches. We should be more concerned about our heart, whether we are right with God or not. We must allow our hearts to be anchored on Christ, not in the abundance of things, not on riches, because these things will pass away, the riches will pass away, and only one thing shall remain: Christ in our heart, who will be the hope of our glory, the hope of our salvation on the day of judgment. May God, through the ministry of His Christ, be our guiding light in life and in death, that we may recognize that our riches towards Him is more valuable than the riches in material possessions.